Okay, good day. Welcome to the session 3 or part 3 of our lecture on the subject comparative models in policing. So last meeting we discussed already the different impact of globalization to the crime situation that we have in our country, in our society. So to continue with our discussion for the subject, we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the challenges to law enforcement brought by the globalization. So makikita natin dito sa magiging discussion natin, ano ba yung mga challenges na binigay, okay, ng ating ng globalization sa field ng law enforcement. So we can, or we will be noticing, or we will notice that there are a lot of disadvantage na binigay ang globalization to our law enforcement. Okay, let's start with the first one. The first challenge is that opportunities for all crimes had, we will not say may increase, had increase na. Kasi nakita naman na natin yung epekto ng globalization. No? Opportunities are increasing, no, for criminal organization because of the development of, because of the improvement of our technology pagdating sa communication, pagdating sa finances, pagdating sa commerce. So, because of this evolution, or because of this progress on the matters that we mentioned, dumami, no, yung mga pwedeng opportunities na pwedeng i-take advantage ng ating mga criminal organization. So for example, we made mention in our past discussion that communication had already evolved, no, twice or thrice the efficiency on how we communicate in the past years, in the past decades, and so on. So ngayon, since napadali na ang way of communication, mas madali na rin makapag-coordinate na yung mga criminal organization, or mas madali na nilang may coordinate yung kanilang mga criminal activities together with the other criminal organizations. So sa communication pa lang yan, sa communication pa lang yan. Mas napadali na ang communication, mas mabilis na ang mga process nila. So, yan yung isa sa pwede natin masabi na nagiging challenge ngayon sa ating law enforcement. Okay? For example, bigyan ko lang kayo ng example. The simple act of the law enforcement in conducting raid. Yung pag-raid, alam naman natin na yung raid is something like they're going to gather information, determine kung saan nangyayari yung isang criminal activity. Say, for example, under surveillance, they found out that this certain place, itong bahay na ito ay ginagamit upang para doon sila gumawa ng mga illegal drugs or prohibited drugs and so on. So, ang gagawin ng ating law enforcement is magkakasa sila ng mga tinatawag nating ng ilalakad nila yung proseso, no, para nang sa ganun ay legally they could go visit the suspected establishment, no, enter into and search onto that establishment to gather evidences, something like that. So, yan yung concept ng raid, no? Ngayon, marami ng instances na kung saan raid turns into failure. Ibig sabihin, no, the law enforcement agencies were able to identify places or establishment where allegedly some crime are being committed. Pero, ang masaklap nito, pagpunta nila doon is wala na silang aabutan na criminal activities, or yung mga tao supposedly na nagko-commit ng crime ay wala na doon sa place. Bakit kaya ganun? Or paano nangyayari yon? We could cite one reason, and that is communication, faster communication, di ba? Siguro papunta pa lang ang mga law enforcement agencies, ating mga kapulisan sa lugar kung saan sila magkakandak ng raid, is na-communicate na or naitawag na ng mga criminal entities, no, doon sa establishment na may magaganap na raid, no? So, dati, no, isipin natin kung wala pa sigurong cellphone, kung wala pa sigurong other ways to communicate than going there face to face and so on. Matagal bago nila or pwede nating maagapan yung pag-disseminate ng information ng mga criminal entities natin, no? Or pwede maging successful yung pag-conduct ng raid for that matter. Pero ngayon, isang chat ka na lang, isang tawag ka na lang, no? Ma-inform mo na, no, yung other criminal entities on the possibility of raid. So maraming nakakatakas or maraming nakakaiwas, okay, sa panghahabol ng ating mga kapulisan dahil sa improvement na naibigay ng ating globalization. So isa yan, no? Dumadami or tumataas ang opportunities dahil sa development na nangyayari sa communication, finance, and commerce. Okay? Then we have also here, no, ano naman yung susunod? Transnational crime may increases network, make cross-border crimes easier to commit. No? Before we discuss this one, let us define first what is transnational crime. When we say transnational crime, we refer to those crimes that have an actual or potential effect across border. No? Included din dito yung mga crimes that are intrastate, no, offend fundamental values, that offend the international values or fundamental values of the international community. So, in short, when we talk about transnational crime, these are crimes that does not only affect the country where the crime was committed, but also those countries that have significant interest over the matter that was discussed. So, for example, terrorism. Another some example of this one is illegal or yung tinatawag nating drug trafficking. No? So, drug trafficking kasi, okay, ang drug trafficking does not only involve one country alone. No? Ang nangyayari kasi ngayon is drugs are being produced in other country and distributed in another country. So, gaya for example sa atin, no? China has a very strict law with regards to illegal drugs, no? Very strict ang China, ang batas ng China pagdating sa mga illegal drugs, gambling and things like that. So anong ginagawa ng mga criminal entities in China so that they can still proceed with their business? Ang ginagawa nila is naghahanap sila ng mga bansa na medyo lax ang batas nila pagdating sa illegal drugs or drug trafficking, no? Or pwede rin nating sabihin na naghahanap sila ng mga bansa na pwede nilang suhulan, no, yung mga government entities, especially the law enforcement, no, para maging protector ng kanilang illegal activities, no? And they will commit their crime in that country, no? So for example, they will manufacture, unfortunately for us, included tayo doon sa nakikita ng mga criminal entities, no, na lax ang batas natin. Kayang bilhin, kayang suhulan yung batas natin para maprotektahan yung mga illegal activities such as drug manufacture. So ang ginagawa nila ng mga Chinese investor to illegal drugs is that they go to other country like Philippines, no? They manufacture, they produce their drugs here in our country, and then the products are being distributed to other countries. No? So makikita natin dito that the problem on illegal drug is not only focused in one country, but have multiple that it has a multiple effect, no, that also affects other countries. Like for example, gawa sila ng drugs sa Pilipinas, benta nila yung drugs sa Hong Kong, benta nila yung drugs sa Malaysia, benta nila yung drugs sa Thailand. So this illustration here shows that illegal drug trafficking does not only happen here in Philippines. Now, affected din ang neighboring country. Okay? So yun yung concept ng transnational crime na tinatawag natin. No, yung effect niya is does not only victimize one country but also other countries. No? Kung magiging drug haven ang ating bansa, ibig sabihin maraming mga drug drug lords or maraming mga drug manufacturers ang pwedeng pumasok sa ating bansa and can operate or create or manufacture their own drugs, no? This crime here does not only affect now Philippines, no? Kasi kung maraming na-produce na drugs ang ating bansa or maraming na-produce na illegal drugs sa ating bansa, no? Other countries, other neighbor countries will also need to worry about that. Kailangan nilang mag-worry. Bakit? Kasi sa tingin nila, Pilipinas lang bang magiging consumer ng product nila? If for example, dito nagma-manufacture ng illegal drugs ang mga illegal, ang ating mga organized criminals, tingin mo ba Pilipinas lang ang apektado? Hindi. No? Kasi kung maraming na-produce na drugs sa ating bansa via organized crime, no, other countries, neighboring countries needs to worry also because kanino or sa tingin nila or sa tingin ninyo kanino ba nila i-distribute yung mga na-produce na drugs, no? Will they distribute that only in Philippines, no? Or is there a possibility that those drugs will also be distributed to the other neighboring country, no? So with this, no, the impact of allowing our country to be a drug haven will only not be felt in the Philippines but also to our neighboring countries. That's the very concept of transnational crime. And with the current technology that we have right now, it is now easier, no, to commit this act, no, because of technologies. All right? No? So that is number 2. We have here some examples of transnational crime for us to better understand the concept of transnational crime. Ano-ano ba yung mga pwede natin sabing examples ng transnational crime? Nangunguna dyan, of course, is human trafficking. Now, we discussed this in the previous discussion, no, on lecture 2. Kaya panoorin ninyo kung hindi nyo pa nakita yung concept ng human trafficking. Okay? Then we have also people smuggling. When we say people smuggling, we are referring to the facilitation, transportation, attempted transportation, or legal entry of a person or persons across international border. Now, this is also a good example of transnational crime kasi when we talk about smuggling, we are not referring to one country. Merong point of entry, no, or may point of origin yung mga smuggled people at meron din yung point of entry kung saan sila dadalhin. No? So this is not a problem only here in the Philippines. If tumataas ang cases ng people smuggling sa Pilipinas, other neighboring countries needs to worry also kasi sa tingin mo saan pumapasok or saan pupunta itong mga ini-smuggle ng mga tao. Okay? Smuggling or trafficking of goods. So when we talk about trafficking of goods, maraming uri yan. No? Basta pag sinabi nating trafficking, we're referring to illegal transportation or delivery of something. So ano ba yung mga trafficking of goods o yung mga pinagbabawal na maipasok sa isang bansa or pinagbabawal na magawa sa isang bansa. So nandyan na yung tinatawag nating arms trafficking. When we talk about arms trafficking, that is the illegal trade of firearms, ammunition, and explosive. We have also drug trafficking, as we mentioned, no? Pag drug trafficking naman, yan naman yung illegal na pagbibenta, pag-manufacture, pag-distribute, pag-distribute ng mga illegal drugs, no? So, not all drugs are illegal. There are drugs that there are only some drugs that are considered or marked as illegal, no? So, for example, drugs din kasi ang paracetamol eh. But the question is that legal or not? So, paracetamol is an over-the-counter drug. Ibig sabihin, you can purchase it without prescription. It means that it is not regulated, nor it is illegal. So, legal bumili yan. That is considered as drugs. They are not harmful, they are not prohibited by law, and they are not regulated. Ang pinagbabawal dito sa drug trafficking ay yung mga tinatawag nating illegal substances or illegal drugs, such as, for example, shabu, no, marijuana, cocaine, heroin, morphine. Those are regulated, no, morphine, heroin, and so on. But they can be addictive. Now, yung mga totally walang medical benefit ay yung shabu, no, that's number 1. LSD, lysergic acid, diethylamide, and so on. They are all considered as prohibited. Now, We have also under the concept of trafficking, syempre may hindi rin nawawala yung tinatawag nating illegal animal trafficking or even plant products, no? Yung mga poacher na tinatawag natin, yung mga nanghuli ng mga endangered species, no? Hinuhuli nila ito sa ating bansa, then they will going to transport that, export that to other country where they will be purchased, no? Now, hindi kasi lahat ng hayop pwede nating i-transport pwede nating i-export, no? May mga hayop at may mga pananim, no? Na hindi natin pwedeng ilabas sa ating bansa at hindi natin pwedeng ipasok sa ating bansa, no? But there are some people who are collecting these plants or animals and so on just for the sake of either they want it as a trophy and so on, or they will use it in as one of the substance na pwede lang magamit sa pag-commit or paggawa ng illegal drugs. So, kasali din sa pinag-uusapan natin, no? When we talk about trafficking of goods, no? Yung mga hayop natin that are considered as endangered, yung mga plants natin that are considered endangered, ay ibinibenta, ini-export sa ibang bansa without legal documentation. Kasali yan lahat, no? Illegal importation or exportation of those considered as near to extinction or extinct na mga animals and so on. Okay? Under the examples of transnational crime, nandiyan din yung tinatawag nating sex slavery, or in other references, we call that as white slavery. Ano nga ba yung tinatawag nating sexual slavery or sexual exploitation? It refers to the attachment of any ownership right over one or more people with the intent of coercing or otherwise forcing them to engage in sexual activities. So, ano ba ang nangyayari under sex slavery, no? Yan yung either pagdukot, no, ng mga kababaihan, usually kababaihan yung mga nagiging victim nito, no, dinadala sa ibang bansa, okay? Pagdating nila doon sa ibang bansa, they will be forced to engage in sexual activities in exchange for money, no? But the money that they will be earning will be collected not by them, no, but by their handler, no? Kung sino man ang nag-recruit sa kanila or kung sino man ang may hawak sa kanila, silang humahawak ng pera. So, yan na nga, slavery, nagiging alipin sila at ginagamit sila for sexual gratification. So, it is like a prostitution. However, they're not earning money because the money that they earn through sexual intercourse, no, is given to their handler. So, madalas din yan na nangyayari, and that is transnational crime kasi dalawang bansang involved yan Now, for example, Philippines is where they recruited illegally those women. Kapag dinala sila sa ibang bansa, say for example sa US, doon sila magiging slaves. So, US and Philippines are both involved in this problem. So, that is considered as transnational crime. Then, we have the most common example of transnational crime is we have terrorism. When we say terrorism, we are referring to the, in both sense, the intentional violence or the use of intentional violence and fear to achieve political or ideological aims. No, we noticed we have witnessed this kind of activities several times already. Perhaps ang pinaka-famous dito is of course the case of Marawi siege. No? Siege. No, ano bang nangyari in Marawi, no? During that time is that this terrorist organization which allegedly is a branch of the known ISIS, no, took over the government of Marawi, no? So kinontrol nila, pinalayas nila yung gobyerno, I mean yung government doon existing, yung mga political leaders, things like that. So nag-take over ng control and power at the time is the ISIS terrorists, no? So, terrorism, when we talk about terrorism, kasi most likely they are motivated by one reason, and that is either political or ideological goals, no? Ang kanilang drive, no, ang drive sa kanila to commit violence is yung kanilang paniniwala, no? Politically and ideologically. So that's the concept of terrorism. Now, why is it that terrorism is a transnational crime? Of course, again, when we say terrorism kasi, we're not just isolating the effect in one country, but all the neighboring countries are also affected. No? Hindi lang Pilipinas ang magkakaproblema kapag halimbawa nangyari ulit, no, yung ganong instances. Pwede rin maapektuhan nito yung mga neighboring countries kasi they will be threatened in terms of national security. No? Kung nangyari nga to sa katabing bansa nila, how much more, or there's a possibility that it could happen also to their country. So that's why it's considered as transnational crime. Because when terrorism is committed, the effect does not only will not be only limited to the country where the terrorism or terrorist act was committed, but also other countries, especially the neighboring countries, will also be affected. Okay? We made mention kanina of transnational crime and international crime. No? Is transnational crime and international crime the same? No? Well, basically, they're not the same. Because when we talk about transnational crime, no, we're referring to crimes that occurs across more than one country. No? While international crimes, meron lang siyang tinatawag nating international implication. So, they could be interchangeably used. Pwede mo silang gamitin pagbalik-balik na rin. No? Pero meron silang isang mahalagang pagkakaiba. No? Ang transnational crime, higit sa dalawang bansa ang involved. Okay? Sa international crime, no, isang bansa lang ang involved pero ang impact nito ay damay ang ibang bansa. Okay? Terrorism, no, if we're going to specify it properly, is considered as international crime. No, depende kung paano kinumit. Halimbawa, yung Marawi, no, kinontrol nila ang Marawi. No, yung mga ISIS terrorists kinontrol nila ang Marawi. Nag-take over sila sa Marawi. No, or other countries involved here, meron bang ibang bansang nakisawsaw dito? No, the answer is wala, because the crime only happened here in our country. However, it has an international impact. No, other countries will worry about their security. So therefore, we consider that as international crime. Drug trafficking, as yung example natin kanina kung susundan natin, no? Sa Pilipinas, ang production ng illegal drugs sa Hong Kong, sa China, no? Sa Taiwan, doon nila binebenta yung illegal drugs. So, in this example, dalawang country ang involved kasi ibang country ang involved when it comes to the production of the illegal drugs at ibang country din ang involved kung saan binenta no, yung mga illegal drugs. So that is an example of transnational crime. No? So I hope I was able to explain the difference between transnational and international crime. Okay? Another challenges to law enforcement as brought by globalization is that because of technological advancement, no? Because of technological advancement, medyo na-exploit ng mga criminal organization itong technologies natin for their own advantage. Such as yung challenge number 1 natin kanina in terms of communication, no? Since madali nang makipag-communicate ngayon, no? Face-to-face or overseas, no? Criminals are also taking advantage of this one. In terms of finances, since madali nang mag-transfer ng pera ngayon, no, criminals are also taking advantage of this one. So, in short, criminals are taking advantage with the technological advancement that we have. No? Unfortunately kasi, no, kung titignan talaga natin ng mabuti is nagiging nabibehind pa nga, no? Mas magaling, no? Mas magaling yung ating mga criminal organization na mag-exploit ng technological advancement, no? Kesa sa ating gobyerno mismo. Kung titignan natin, sino ba ang mas may mga gagaling na hacker? The government or the criminal organization? Nasaan ang pinakamagagaling ng mga hacker. Okay? So, if we're going to analyze it, syempre, ang mga magagaling na hacker most likely are employed under criminal organization. Syempre, no? Kasi, kung gobyerno mag-employ sa'yo, magkano lang ipapasweldo sa'yo, hindi naman kalakihan ang sahod ng gobyerno sa atin. So, kung papantayan yan or hihigitan yan ng mga criminal organization or they will multiply it to 3 or 10 times, no, kumpara sa kikitain mo sa gobyerno, abay talagang mas magiging lucrative at mas magiging tempting, no, na sumali ka nila sa mga criminal organization, no, para mas madali kang kumita ng pera. So, diyan pa lang, on that concept pa lang, makikita natin that mas magaling mag-exploit ng technological advancement ng mga organized criminals or ang organized crime group, no, compared sa ating government, no. So behind ng ating government with regards to taking advantage of the current technologies that we have. Next is we have also electronic money laundering. We know, for example, we know for a fact, we made mention already on the concept of money laundering kung paano siya nangyayari, no? But because of the advancement of the technologies, we can also transfer money via electronic transaction nowadays, no? So in short, pwede na ring mas mapadali, no, yung money laundering activity ng ating mga criminal organization because money nowadays are being transferred through the cyberspace, no? So, madali na nilang maitago, no, yung kanilang pera. Idagdag mo pa dito, no, yung protection or anonymity na ibinibigay ng mga service providers, especially with regards to finances sa mga users nila, no? So, another good example there is cryptocurrency, no? So very anonymous ang transaction mo if you are in cryptocurrency, no? Yung iba naman, like for example, yung paper trail, no, ng mga illegal activities, mahirap i-identify, mahirap hanapan ng ebidensya dahil, no, yung mga, no, itong mga service provider natin, no, are protecting, no, the confidentiality of the information or are being protected by the confidentiality of information. So, nagiging pro illegal activities yung naging progress natin in terms of electronic money, no? Mas nakikinabang dito yung mga may ginagawang illegal act, no, compared sa atin na ginagamit ito sa legal na pamamaraan. So that pose a challenge to our law enforcement kasi there are ways already where criminal organization can hide, no, their money trail kung paano yung daloy ng pera nila through the technologies that we have, right? So since we discuss electronic money, ano ba yung mga examples ng electronic money natin? Syempre pinakasikat dito yung tinatawag nating digital currency, no? Ang digital currency, we're referring to any currency, money or money-like asset that is primarily managed, stored, or exchanged on digital computer systems, no, especially on the internet. So we have a lot of digital currencies that being used right now, no? Coins, no, mga crypto, something like that, are all examples of digital currency. Ang treatment niya is para siyang pera, no? May value siya, may halaga siya, at pwede natin siyang gamitin pang transact, no, sa bawat isa if we are familiar with the use of cryptocurrency. So since we talk about cryptocurrency, no, as part of the concept of electronic money under the issue on electronic money laundering, no, ang pinaka-popular dyan with regards to cryptocurrencies, we have Bitcoin, no. If you're familiar with Bitcoin, nowadays yata parang 1 Bitcoin is almost 20 to 30 million pesos ang value niya, no? 1 Bitcoin, yun yung value niya in peso. Okay? So, Bitcoin is a decentralized digital currency. Now, when we talk about decentralized digital currency, ibig sabihin, this is not controlled by the government. It's not the government who has control over this one. The value of Bitcoin is not controlled by the government, no? It is not handled by the government, no? Ang concept kasi ng cryptocurrency is the value of cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin, is decided based on the confidence of the users, no? Based on the confidence of the user. Parang kumbaga supply and demand lang to, no? Because Bitcoin has limited supply, no? Habang dumadami yung gumagamit ng Bitcoin, no? Tumataas yung kanyang value. So it's just the concept of supply and demand. And the good thing here is that, again, it's not controlled by the government. So the government has nothing or has no way to control this one, because again, no, ang nagbibigay dito ng value, no, it's not the government, it's not the dollar or whatsoever, but the confidence of the people, no, on this cryptocurrency, on the Bitcoin. So this was the first cryptocurrency that was invented, ano, kaya siya yung pinaka-popular at siya yung pinaka-mataas ang value as of this moment. It was invented in 2008, no, by a person. I don't know if he is really a person or just a code name or whatsoever, no. Allegedly, it was created by Satoshi Nakamoto, no. They started using this one in year 2009, no? It was first used, no? At that year. So the value before ng Bitcoin in year 2009 is napakababa. Wala pa siguro isang piso, no? Wala pang piso ang value ng isang Bitcoin during the first release, kasi nga syempre doon pa lang siya nagsisimula. Habang tumatagal kasi, no, dumami yung nag-consider na gumamit or mag-store ng Bitcoin. Habang dumadami, no, yung mga consumers ng Bitcoin, tumataas din yung value. Kasi again, supply and demand. The Bitcoin is limited, just like gold, di ba? Gold is limited. So, habang marami ang nangangailangan or marami ang nagkakagustong magkaroon ng sarili nilang gold, no, tumataas ang demand, tumataas din ang price niya. So that is same with Bitcoin, no? Dahil hindi naman karamihan ang supply ng Bitcoin, no? At dumadami or tumataas yung confidence ng mga tao na gamitin ito or magmay-ari, mag-store nito, no? Tumataas din yung kanyang value. Now, from the price na halos wala pang isang piso during its first release, nowadays, 1 Bitcoin is amounting to 20 to 13 million pesos. Imagine that. Okay? Another challenges with regards to the law enforcement is we have drug-related crime. No, we could say that drug-related crime are already expanding. No, the drug trafficking, no, the activities on drug trafficking primarily are controlled by organized crime group. No, before, dati ang mga ano lang diyan nagpapatakbo ng mga drug trafficking is of course itong mga malalaki at kilalang mga criminal organization like Yakuza, cartels, something like that. But because of the evolution of the technology that we have right now, communication, finances, and the like, nag-expand, no, yung drug-related crime natin to the point that you don't need to belong to a criminal organization before you can sell drugs, no? So any person now can sell drugs so long as they have means to secure supply, di ba? So dumami ang involved, no? Dati kasi organized crime lang ang kalaban mo diyan eh. Ngayon, kahit ordinaryong tao, no, so long as meron siyang hawak na drugs or meron siyang pagkukuhanan ng drugs, no, he can deal already with drugs, no. Kaya nga kung titignan mo ngayon yung current situation natin sa Pilipinas, no, pati mga teenager can be able to purchase shabu, nakakabili sila ng shabu, no, nakakabili sila ng marijuana. Teenagers, okay? Which is, kung balikan natin ang history natin, of course, hindi ka pwedeng basta bumili, no, ng drugs kasi ang kausap mo dyan is mga criminal organization, malaking mga organisasyon ito, no? So, they're very careful kung sinong bebentahan nila kasi baka mamaya is yan pala ay alam mo na pakawala ng kapulisan or whatsoever. So mahirap, mas mahirap dati, no, na bumili ng drugs or maghanap ng supplier ng drugs, no? Compared ngayon na marami na tayong pwedeng pagkuhanan or marami ka nang pwedeng pagbilhan ng drugs. So nag-expand, no, yung drug-related crime natin because of technology. Another problem or challenges that the law enforcement are facing in terms of law enforcement is that the involvement of minors, no, had increased. The involvement of minors in committing crime had increased already, no? Again, dati crimes are being committed by adults, no? Sila lang ang nagkakalakas ng loob na mag-commit ng crime whatsoever kasi of course they have meron silang ways to protect themselves, no? Say for example, firearm lang, no? Maniwala ka ngayon may mga teenager meron ng baril, no? Paano sila naka-secure ng baril nila, no? Syempre binili nila yan illegally, no? Kung noong unang panahon ba pwede kang makabili, minor de edad ka, pwede kang makabili ng firearm, no? Malamang sa malamang hindi pwede yon, no? Kasi you're dealing with criminal organization. But nowadays, kahit mga minor de edad, kahit mga teenager, may access, no? May access sila sa baril. So that's the reason also why tumaas din yung involvement ng mga minors natin in committing crime. Di ba? Kasi malakas ng loob nila eh. They are connected to criminal gangs at their early age. So they are basically involved in committing crime earlier than before. So tumaas din ang cases natin ng mga crimes committed by minors or yung tinatawag natin juvenile delinquency rate. So that's another problem, no? Okay? Criminal organizations, right? We made mention of this kanina a while back, no? That criminal organizations have a better way of exploiting itong mga technologies natin. Mas na-exploit ng criminal organization yung technologies natin kaysa sa ating government. Di ba? Example, baril, no? Our law enforcement, no, have firearm that are considered already as, we could say outdated. Say for example, most of the police officers and military of the Philippines are still using M16 rifles, no? And they're using M16 rifles. M16 rifles was first introduced during the World War II pa yan. World War II pa ginagamit yung M16 rifles na yan. So, until now, yun pa rin yung ginagamit nila, no? While their counterpart, itong mga criminal organizations natin, no longer uses those kind of firearms, no? Some of them have AK-47, more upgraded firearms, and so on, while our law enforcement agencies are so left behind in terms of firearms. No? Other technologies, other technologies that they have is the way how they synthesize drugs. No? While our law enforcement are focused on identifying kung saan nagtatanim ng mga marijuana, yung mga criminal organization in our country, no? Little do they know that the active ingredient of marijuana, which is the THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, can already be synthesized, no? Pwede nang i-synthesize. Ibig sabihin, they can produce, no, the marijuana substances, no, not by planting it, but rather by simply synthesizing. Pwede na nilang gawin, luto-lutuin lang yan sa laboratory. So, parang behind na tayo dyan. Kasi baka ang hinahanap ng ating mga kapulisan ay yung mga plantation and so on, pero hindi nila alam or baka hindi natin alam na yung most of their production pala ay nangyayari lang yan sa mga laboratory. And when we say laboratory, it's not even a proper laboratory. No, hindi lang proper laboratory na kailangan malaking warehouse, something like that. Hindi na. No, pwede na yung mga boarding house, no, They have just this minimal, alam mo, equipment, like even yung mga ordinary kitchen utensils natin ay ginagamit na sa pagluto or paggawa ng drugs. So, those are technologies. No? How does the law enforcement adapt to this problem? That's a big question. Are they really adopting? No? So, yun pa yung isa. Okay? Na kailangan nating tignan. Dahil nga mas nag-invest ang mga criminal organizations, no, sa development of their means in committing crime kesa sa investment ng ating gobyerno to combat them. So, basically, law enforcement are so behind in terms of technology and in terms of methodology that they could use to apprehend, no, or arrest these criminal entities, no. Another thing is law enforcement may have less capacity to conduct interception and surveillance activities as drug trafficking organizations are increasingly adopt encryption and other means of concealment. That is true again, no? As we have stated, no, mas nagiging critical or mas nagiging mas nagiging complex yung mga ginagamit ng ating mga criminal entities, no, on how they can be able to make all their transaction confidential and encrypted, no, kesa sa effort ng ating kapulisan sa pag-identify, no. Yung technologies natin on investigation, we are still behind, no. Nandun pa rin tayo sa polygraph machine, nandun pa rin tayo sa old technologies or even manual technologies that we have right now. No, while the criminals are already far in advance with their technologies in committing crime. So, paano mo huhulihin yun? Diba? Halimbawa, yung criminal naka-sports car. Diba? Luxury car. Samantalang yung ating mga law enforcement ay alam mo na, yung mga low-power vehicle. Example lang yun, hindi ko sinasabi that that's exactly what's happening. I'm just trying to make a imagery on how should we compare the effort of the law enforcement to the effort of the criminal organization in terms on how they invest in technologies and so on. So, malayo yung investment ng criminal organization in improving their way of committing crime than the effort of the law enforcement in improving how could be able to apprehend those criminals committing crime. No? So, very behind ang ating law enforcement. Another is we have jurisdiction, the issues on jurisdiction. When we say jurisdiction, kasi it refers to the official power to make legal decision and judgment or the extent of power to make legal decision and judgment. No? So, basically, jurisdiction provides limitation of power to the government. No? And it only applies to the government. It only applies to the law enforcement. Just like, for example, tingnan mo to. Ito yung example niya. If a criminal, now, is being pursued by a law enforcer, now, once he gets out the jurisdiction of that law enforcer, he can no longer follow. Di ba? Kumbaga is parang ang kapulisan natin ay aso, no, na may tali, na pwedeng habulin yung mga kriminal pero hanggang doon lang sa abot ng kanyang tali. Pag nasagad na yung tali, hindi na pwedeng humabol yung aso. Bakit? Yung tali, we could consider that as like a jurisdiction. It's a limitation of the power, no, of the government or the law enforcement. So, criminals knows this one. So they're taking advantage of this. Kaya yung mga, tignan mo, yung mga drug lords, no? Once they're put under watch list or wanted list, anong ginagawa nila? They get out the country. No? Just like what happened to Alice Guo. Di ba? The case of Alice Guo before. Nung nalagay na siya sa, parang kumbaga is, naging subject na siya ng inquiry ng government natin, kumbaga pinagtuunan na siya ng pansin. Anong ginawa niya? Di lumabas ng bansa. Diba? Buti nga nahabol pa. no? Pero kung iba yon, malamang hindi na mahabol. Kung mga drug lord, for example yon, pumunta na sa ibang bansa, kahit anong gawin ng Pilipinas, hindi na nila mahabol. Why? Because of the concept of jurisdiction. Jurisdiction limits the power of the government or the law enforcement in implementing the law. Okay? It's a good thing and a bad thing, and the only one who's taking advantage of this one, all the benefits, no, goes to the criminal organization. So that is another challenge to our law enforcement. We have also the concept of extradition, di ba? The extradition, no, traditional frameworks for extradition and mutual legal assistance may be stretched to their limit. They're taking advantage of this one again. No, halimbawa, isang drug lord na aresto, no? So anong gagawin? I-extradite, no? Ibig sabihin, i-deport natin siya, no? Well, extradition is pabaliktad yun, no? Extradition yung exact opposite of deport, no? But here's the thing. We could only impose the power of extradition if we have a treaty with them, no? Treaty with the other country. Just like what happened to Alice Guo. I don't know what country, kung saan ba siya tumakbo, no? But I'm sure, no, yung tinakbuhan niyang bansa happens to have an extradition treaty with the Philippines. That's why, even though nakalabas na ng bansa si Alice Guo, naibalik pa rin siya for the reason that tumakbo siya doon sa bansa na meron tayong extradition treaty. What is all about the concept of extradition treaty? No? Extradition treaty is a mutual cooperation with the country. Like for example, example lang, we have extradition treaty with Thailand. If a criminal from Philippines, no, went to hide in Thailand, the officers of Thailand, the law enforcement in Thailand, may participate in apprehending the person and surrendering him to our country. No? Ganon yung mangyayari. Okay? On the concept of extradition. However, no, what if ang tinakbuhan niya is yung mga lugar na wala tayong extradition treaty, just like the case of Joma Sison, di ba? Si Joma Sison, no, nung siya ay nakalabas na sa you know, kasi he was a political prisoner during the time of Marcos, the late Ferdinand Marcos. He was a political prisoner. No, nung pumalit si Cory is pinalaya sila kasi accordingly they're victim of political power, you know, parang kumbaga is they are victim of abuses of the government, no? Kumbaga power tripping yung government before. So pinalaya sila, no? Pinalaya sila. The first thing Joma Sison did was to get out the country. Yan yung ginawa niya. Baka kasi magbago ang isip, di ba? So, nung pinalaya siya, ang una niyang ginawa, get out the country. Umalis siya sa bansa. He went to Switzerland. No? Yeah, Switzerland, if I'm not mistaken. He went to Switzerland. Well, it happens to, no, that Switzerland and Philippines don't have extradition treaty. No? So, yun nga, nung nagbago ng isip ng gobyerno, nung hindi na si Cory ang nasa gobyerno, gusto nilang pahuli ulit si Joma Sison, pero hindi na natin mautusan yung bansa na tinakbuhan niya kasi we don't have extradition treaty. So, this is the weakness, no, of our law enforcement, no? Because not all countries have extradition treaty with our country. So, if a criminal, no, hide himself doon sa mga bansa na wala tayong extradition treaty, wala. Not just like what happened to Joma Sison. Hintayin mo na lang na karma ang bumalik sa kanya. Diba? So, parang ipagdasal mo na lang na karma ng bahala sa kanya. Another weakness, diba? Okay? So, those are the challenges that we know that globalization had imposed to the field of law enforcement. No? There's a lot of them, no? So we could not really say that the law enforcement that we have, no, yung ating mga kapulisan are not effective or not efficient, no, in doing their job in combating transnational and international crime. But the problem really is there are really challenges that prevents them from working efficiently, no, because of these limitations that we made mention, right? So I hope I was able to impart my knowledge with regards to the topic that we just discussed. If you have comments or if you have questions that you want to ask, feel free to comment on the comment section. No? If not, thank you very much for listening. That's it for today. See you guys on the next upload. Bye-bye.